So good morning, good afternoon to whoever is listening.
Afternoon.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take my photo off so I can eat.
So this is so I'll just put you on mute, and if you want to say something, you can just wave to me and whatever, and I will unmute you. So good morning, hello to everyone. So in this week's Parsha, which is Parshas Veychi, is a wondrous parsha because it has much nevuah prophecy in the parsha. But in particular, when Yaakov is giving brachas to his children, he's giving the brachas for the future of his children. So Parshas Vaychi starts with the idea that Yaakov is living the final 17 years of his life in Mitzrayim. Before he passes away, he asks Yosef to make a shvuah that Yosef, who is the prime minister, who has the capability, will take him out of Mitzrayim to bury him in Eretz HaKodesh. And Yaakov blesses Yosef's two sons, Menashe and Ephraim, and he does something special because he elevates them to the status, to the level of his own sons, as the ones who will run tribes within the nation of Israel. And the children of Yaakov gather to hear his final brachot and instructions to them. And Yaakov desires to reveal the Kates Hayomim, the end of the days, but he is prevented from doing so min hashamayim. So he does continue on with brachot. These brachot are for the individual 12 tribes of Israel, and in those brachot, in those blessings, he talks wondrous brachas. But let's zero in and concentrate on when Yaakov calls his children together. And the pasuk says, "V'yikra Yaakov el bonov v'yemer." Say, Yaakov called all his children, and he says, "Hesifo v'agido lachem." Bring yourselves together, and I'm going to tell you es asher yikra eschem, which is going to happen ba'achris hayomim. So it's written beferish, it's written explicitly in the Chumash that he is going to speak to them about that ba'achris hayomim. But if we look a little bit further and look at what he does say, we don't find that exactly. We find that he gives brachas to the children, and if you look in the Mefarshim, they talk that included in his words, is ideas which relate to what will happen in the history of Bnei Israel, but it doesn't speak about Ba'achris Hayomim. So the question that we need to ask ourselves then, Mefarshim, investigate what is and what was his intention, and why couldn't he do that eventually? So, but first of all, let's look at the classical Mefarshim tell us about this point in time. The Medrash Tanchuma speaks that it is a proper teaching, it is a proper thing to do, that a person, before he passes away, should give instructions, has to give over to his children. A person should give over to their children instruction about how they should do their lives. general instruction. And in fact, it says in three parts in Tanakh that a person should present their instructions to their children before they pass away from this world. Im ein achshav emosai. If not at this point in time, when should a person do it? So it says in Mishlei that it's a person that I might make you know the certainty of the words of Emet, and you may bring back truthful sayings to the one who sent you. This and in other places it says in Mishlei, it says at the end of, because and what's what we say, and when we go to the Chevra Kedisha, when we go to visit the people who are at the before the kavura, before the bed, before the end, we say the expression, the sofa mother, at the end of the matter, everything is heard. And in Eov it says, in the shadow of death, you should make a seder. So Tanchuma tells us that this is the proper thing to do. So Yaakov calls his children, and he wants to tell them that what is about themselves and what will be in the future. In another sefer, Imava Yabok, it talks about when a person falls ill, they should hurry to organize their affairs. So again, that they should instruct the family to follow the way of Hashem, to do, and they should be instructed how to do tzedakah and mishpat. So how they should do tzedakah, charity, correct things, and mishpat, the correct attitude to take. Because if a person is the cause of quarrels amongst their own family, their own children, by failing to settle all the issues between them, this will cause for the neshama itself, it will cause for the neshama for themselves some sort of disturbance for their own neshama. So the Sefer Mavi Yabok suggests that a person has to do before he passes away, he has to give all the instructions. So on the other hand, when a person gives instruction and causes them to live their following life in achva, in brotherhood, and in truth and honesty, this brings an extra gratification, an extra level of shalom, of peace, to the person's departed the world. So not only is it good for the family, but it's good for the neshama itself, that there should be instruction. So again, this is the reason why Yaakov brought the children together. And as we just said, that there's no better time to give a bracha and to instruct a person's children, because when a person is close to death, a person can see that all the concerns of this physical world is not so important, and those cares about inyonic gashmiut and the physical world, they're diminished. It's not so important. What is important is the moral and ethics, the spiritual ruchniot issues, which is very near to a person. And it is then that a person possesses his own purity in his own mind and the vision of emet, and this is the best time in one's life to give this over. So Yaakov wanted to reveal what the apostle calls achris hayomim, which we understand to be the time of the ultimate time when Mashiach will come. So, and he wanted to tell his children, to the Shvatim, that when this will happen. However, the Shechina, which the Shekhinah was with Yaakov all the time, all of a sudden disappeared. The ruach of godliness, of spirituality, seems to have passed him and left him. So that is how how Rashi understands what has happened. According to some other Mefarshim, for instance, Chizkuni and Tosfos, what Yaakov really wanted to tell him to tell the children was when they will go out of the Golus Mitzrayim, because as of now in our Pasha, we see that the Bnei Yisrael, that is, the children of Yaakov, had to leave Eretz Yisrael. And in fact, Yaakov himself didn't want to leave Eretz Yisrael at the time of the famine. But in fact, what happened? The Hashem appeared to Yaakov and told him, it's time to go down to Mitzrayim. So Yaakov was ki'ilu, as if forced by the tzivui, by the commandment of Hashem, to go down to Egypt. And now that he was forced to go down because of the famine, and he brought his whole family, the Shivim Nefoshes, the 70 souls that went down into Egypt, now Yaakov wanted to tell them when the Geula will be. Notwithstanding that, whether this is this Pirush or that Pirush, the Shekhinah left him. And so Yaakov said to himself, perhaps there is something that's unfit. There's some sort of psul in my children, because after all, with Avram, my grandfather, he had a Yishmael, and the Yishmael was a psul that came out from the family. And with Yitzchak, there was an Esav that came out. So perhaps there's something wrong with the nefoshes, with the children, with my family. There's a psul that's not allowing the Shekhinah to be able to reveal, to be able to allow me to say what will be in the future. So his children said to him, the first thing, Shema Yisrael. What does Shema Yisrael mean? Yisrael, our father. Remember, Yaakov's name has been changed to Yisrael. So they say, Shema Yisrael, hear, our father Yisrael. Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Just as there is only Hashem in your heart, so there is only in our heart only the Echad of Hashem. So at that moment, when Yaakov realized that there wasn't a psul, he said, Baruch Shem Kavod. So our sages, the commentary, the Mefarshim say, what does it mean that they said to him, Shema Yisrael, and our teachers said that when Moshe Rabbeinu also had in the Chumash, the Inyan, the idea of Shema Yisrael, Moshe Rabbeinu didn't say it aloud. So what should we do? It says in the Gemara, but Yaakov said it. So it says that we should say it softly, Baruch Shem Kavod, and that's why we in our prayers say Shema Yisrael loudly, but Baruch Shem Kavod softly. How does this teach us something? This teaches us that notwithstanding that the Shekhinah left him for the small point in time, the Shekhinah was telling him that Yaakov, the Oves, were of a very high level. However, your children do not have that same level of spirituality. So this time of redemption, the Talmud and the Zohar says that Hashem was telling Yaakov, Hashem was telling Yisrael that it is not the time to reveal it to my mouth. My heart does not reveal it to my mouth. So what does this mean that my heart couldn't reveal it to my mouth? What we have in our heart is the pnimius liboi, in the inner reachings of our heart. We have the depth of experience and the depth of our feelings, but Hashem told Yaakov, Hashem as if made Yaakov understand that this is not the time, nor are your children sufficiently spiritual enough and high enough to be able to reveal it through your mouth. What is the difference between liboi, the heart, and per, the mouth? When you have something in your heart, this is of the highest pnimiut, the highest levels of hiddenness. It's internal, it's pnimius. When a person talks with the mouth, this is the level of chitzonius. It's something that you communicate to an outside person. When something goes from the heart to the mouth, it goes down in levels of spirituality. So Yaakov could feel and could see that the level of the Bnei Yisrael, his children, were not of this highest level. So this means that the Sod HaGeula, the secret mystical understandings of the revelation of Geula, it has not come the time for this to be revealed yet. But the Chumash tells us that he wanted to reveal the Achris Hayomim. So how could it be that the Chumash tells us that there's something about a revelation of the Achris Hayomim? How could it not, something about that not happen? So we must say, in some sort of way, that the desire of the tzaddik Yaakov did actually happen, did actually become in a reality. So his desire was fulfilled in some sort of way, but there was something, as explained by the Zohar, that when Yaakov spoke and he gave the brachas, so when Yisrael spoke and he gave the brachas to the children, each word which Yaakov spoke had a level of revealed revelation, but also a concealed aspect. That is, there's an aspect of which came out baper on the outside, but an aspect which came concealed on the inside. So the external, the chitzonius meanings of Yaakov's blessings were understood by his children and therefore were actualized when they actually came into Eretz Yisrael, as the Mefarshim tell us of the different blessings and the meanings of those blessings where Yaakov speaks, how it actualized in the history of the Bnei Yisrael. But the ultimate hidden meaning, The Yesod should be Yesod. The Sod be Yesod. The mystical meanings, they were hidden, and they didn't come out to be revealed. So in the next generations after the Bnei Yisrael went through all the generations after Yaakov of the Bnei Yisrael, of the Shibud Mitzrayim, about how the Jews were enslaved in Egypt. If the Kli Yoker, the famous Meforish Kli Yoker, and others say that if the subsequent generations of Yaakov's descendants would have known how much time has yet to pass and how much pain and suffering was still in store for them before the actual coming of the Mashiach, and many Jews would have lost their basic faith in Mashiach and perhaps despaired of Geula. But that is why in every generation Hashem has planted tzaddikim to encourage us and to teach us that the Mashiach, our ultimate Geula, is on its way. But at this point in time, Hashem prevented Yaakov from revealing the end of days to his children. But does that mean that the Ruach HaKodesh departed from Yaakov in totality? No, absolutely not. Because we see that in the brachot that Yaakov gave to all the children individually, he told them prophecy. So Nevuah didn't leave him, but the specific teaching of the Geula that will be at the Achrit Yomim, that was prevented from him to speak. However, what happened to them individually in their future days, that was revealed. Now, this idea of the idea that what is in the heart, Masha B'Libi, I cannot reveal to what's prepared, that can be understood by a mashal. The Talmud tells us that when a neshama comes from the Eitzer of Min HaShamayim, from the place where the neshamas are collected, before a neshama comes down into this world, in the Eitzer, in the collecting place of the neshamas in Gan Eden, we learn, the Alter Rebbe writes in the Tanya Kadisha, in the Tanya, that a neshama is given a shvuah, and it is told not to, it's told to keep the Torah, to learn and to do the Torah. So it is given a bracha. It is announced in Shamayim that whether this neshama will be strong or weak, or wise or foolish, and rich and poor. However, what it isn't proclaimed, what it isn't fixed, is that whether it'll be a neshama, which is the neshama of a tzaddik, whether he will act in the way of being a tzaddik, or whether he will act in a way of a Beinani or even a Rasha. It's not that God doesn't know what's going to occur. God knows everything that which is going to be, including whether a person will actually choose to do Tov or Ra. But That is in the realm of machshava. In the realm of machshava, see, in the moshel, in the moshel that the Alter Rebbe gives, he says this is in the realm of machshava, the realm of libe, the realm of what's in the heart, and the realm of the realm of the libe, the realm of the heart, right, is a fluid realm. So, as we said, Hashem knows everything that will occur, including what a person will choose, Tevara, but that's in the realm of libe, in the heart. That is machshava. And you know that in Bagashmius, in you, in ourselves, we can have many machshavas, and machshavas run around in our head, many, many different thoughts. But when we do something actual in actuality, that can't be changed. So when this knowledge lives in the realm of machshava, in libe, this remains above and beyond, not in actual maisa b'poel, not in actuality. From machshava till actual reality is a very big difference. So that way, in the idea of a neshama, before it comes down into the world, the neshama, as explained in Tanya, is given the koches, is masbia, is given a shvua, but that shvua which we give him is also meant masbia. We give him and we give the neshama full of energies and capabilities that he should be able to do the right thing and the correct thing at each time. So the power of bechira chofshis, free choice, is given to everyone in the physical realm, in the realm of actuality, and it's up to each individually in the neshama itself. And as the neshama is mislabish in the guf, as the neshama is enclosed in the body, it's up to them that they have the bechira chofshis to be able to choose and to do what's in that person's choice of life, and therefore that will become actualized in his own life. But everybody has a choice to be able to find and do those specific things that she needs to do. What's belibe, what's in his heart, and as the Rebbe teaches us that bepnimius libe, in every Jew's heart, he wants to reitze, he wants to do the right thing, and therefore, as the famous halacha that the Rambam brings, which relates to when a person might have to give a get to his wife, the Bezdin is allowed to force him to do it. Oh, we ask the question, if a man is forced to give a get, then he's not doing it out of his own free choice. But if the rabbis have determined, if the Bezdin has determined that the person is required to give a get under whatever those specific circumstances are, and we're talking about the time when the Bnei Israel live in Eretz Yisrael, and the Bezdin of Eretz Yisrael, the Sanhedrin, is ruling and can control everyone. That's not necessarily in today's times, but certainly in Eretz Yisrael at the time of when the Beis Hamikdash existed, when the Sanhedrin was running. The halacha is that the Beis Din can kaif him say they can force the person to give the get. How can they force the person to give it? It's not his free will, and that's because we say in the pnimius of the neshama, the person wants to do the right thing. So therefore, by forcing him to do the right thing and give the get, he's just revealing what he wants in his innermost neshama. So that's what we say. The liboy in his heart, in his essence, he wants to do the right thing. But in ordinary circumstances, that's not necessarily what comes out. So in the case of an ordinary person, and also in the realm of Ruchnius, if Hashem would have allowed Yaakov, Yisrael, to actually say b'dibur with his words, to actually say the Geula, the time of the Geula, that would cause that when something is spoken, this would automatically cause the aspect to come out, the Geula to come out in the realm of Gashmius, and therefore wouldn't be able to be changed. So from Hashem's point of view, what he did was he didn't allow Yaakov to reveal the Achris Yomim, the time of Mashiach, and this is how the Alter Rebbe, how the Rav Shneur Zalman of Liadi explains that if the neshama is forced to make a shvua about to make a shvua about doing the right thing, and that's what is declared in heavens beforehand. If that's declared then that will be the hashgacha pratis. This will be what the neshama has to do. So then bechira chofshis, the free choice, is taken away from that particular neshama, which is being sent out to the world, and therefore this would interfere with his freedom of choice. So that's why Yaakov in our pasuk is prevented from actually saying the ultimate achris yomim to his children, because if, as the Alter Rebbe, as the Alter Rebbe describes, if Yaakov would have said out bepeh what was beliboi, if he would have said out with his mouth what is in his heart, which was the prophecy from Hashem, then it would have to be come out in actuality, begashmias, as Yaakov said. But then that means that the Geula is not dependent on what the children, and we are the children, when it's not dependent on what the activity and the actions, the tshuva and ma'asim tovim of the children of the next generations. It would have to be in a way of coming out in ultimate sense, in fully way, but it would not be determined by the by the good deeds of our generation. Excuse me. However, Hashem decreed that the truth, the actual truth of the Geula, has to then stay in the olam of machshava that will become realized in Lapoel, so that at some point there will be a case, there will be the end of the days, and that's dependent upon our good deeds. As we saw in the time of Daniel, the prophet Daniel, that he saw that there should have been a time of a case, as different other tzaddikim saw that there was the potential in the way of machshava, in Hashem's machshava, in the realm of spirituality, that there could have been an actualization of this of the Geula, as also also was also in the time, also in the time of our Rebbeim, of the Rebbeim of Lubavitch, that it was saw that there was a time of a case, and then our holy and the Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek, said that there was a time of the case, and some other Geula happened. What was that Geula? That Geula was the printing of the famous Likutei Torah, the teachings of the Alter Rebbe. Notwithstanding that, the Isgalus of the Kates comes down in some sort of way, just like Yaakov Avinu's revelation of his brachas, that there will be that in these brachas to these children, that there is aspects of the Geula and prophecy and Nevi'im. So it's not that the Ruach HaKodesh was taken away from Yaakov, but the permission to speak out, the actual Geula of the Achris Yomim was taken away. So it wouldn't be determined and locked up in the realm of Gashmias, and therefore in the different generations we should be able to be zeicher to the Geula. So we have this idea that that the Hashem says that when it will be the proper time, Hashem will hasten the Geula. And the Gemara, the Talmud, explains that the idea of this Geula is possible to be in two separate fashions, in two separate ways. The unfolding of Mashiach can happen in Bezmanoi, in its proper time. Bezmanoi means with the time which is the ultimate time which Yaakov Avinu wanted to reveal, but it also can come in a different ephon. It can come in an ephon that before its time, because of all of our good deeds, and the time when Geula can come because of our Maisim Tovim and all our good deeds, that's not locked up, and there is no fixed time for that. That has a dependency on our good deeds that we will do. But the idea that Yaakov wanted to reveal the Ketz Hayomim, that was meaning the idea that that's the time when Geula should come in its final time. And if Yaakov would have revealed that, it would have to occur at that time, and then not allow that the good deeds of our generation should be able to bring Mashiach in its time. So that's why the Alter Rebbe teaches. So that is the understanding of why Hashem prevented Yaakov from revealing that to this specific time. That our Chazal teaches us that the Overs, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, they are as we know, we are taught that they were totally given over to the will of Hashem, that through that they were a Merkava, meaning to say that whatever they did, whatever they thought, was for the purposes of Hashem, was a Merkava to the Hashem's Ratzon, to whatever they want. So if Yaakov desired to reveal the Ketz Hayomim, if he wanted to reveal the end of all the days, then that must mean that this is Hashem's will also, that He wants us all to know this Ketz Hayomim, and also wants us to be able to do things to bring those Ketz Hayomim. So we have to understand that that even though on the surface, the way we see things, we live our lives not knowing about the Geula, because it seems that we are in a sense in a dark place, because we can't see the Geula, because it's only through our good deeds that will bring a Mashiach. But at the same time, we know and we understand in a way of machshava that Hashem has given us and Yaakov has given us the idea that we should have to have the desire, but we also have a capability to bring Mashiach's time, and that puts Mashiach and the time of Mashiach in our realm, that we can make it come. Achsheno, we can make it come now if everybody puts together and makes us ourselves ready. So when Yaakov said to his children, he said, "V'asifo v'hagido," collect yourself. Asifo means to collect, gather yourself. V'hagido, and then he was going to say, what does the asifo mean? The asifo means that we have to put together all our good deeds that we have been collecting. Hashem will put it together. But just like Yosef Atzadik dreamt the dream of the collecting all the ashivs together, and that together with himself and with Yaakov, everybody would bow. As he said, he sees everybody's bowing down to Hashem Echad. So we have to, and they bow down. So asifo there means that you bring together the wheat and make them into sheaves, and they bow down to Hashem. Same also, he uses this expression of asifo, this idea of collecting together. We have to collect, and Hashem helps us to collect the different sparks of kedusha that we have been involved in our life. We bring the netzutze hakedesh, and we bring them together through doing mitzvahs and learning Torah, like we're doing at the moment. And we're bringing that together, and we can then have the schut to be able to bring the time of Mashiach. But this unity, but when we have, unfortunately, we have times of machlokas, or sometimes when we're not as joined together. We have the opposite of the asifo, when we have disunity amongst all our brethren. Then This, in fact, which was what the brothers originally had. The brothers themselves had the disunity between themselves, and that's why in between themselves they had different opinions about what to do about Yosef. But that disunity, that opposite of the Asifa, caused them all to go down into Egypt. That caused all the Jews to go down. That was the Bnei Yisrael. But the disunity is unfortunately the cause of is a cause at least of the Golas and the continuing to Golas. So Yaakov's message is Va'asifo, when you dispel the disunity amongst all the brothers, all of Bnei Yisrael, and and when we can asifo ourselves, va'agido, and then binding ourselves as one unit, this is the key. This is what will lead to the Achris Yomim. This is what leads to the ultimate redemption. And then when we can gather ourselves together and be together in a full unity, this can be a schus for us, and this will be a zeicher for us, that will give us the end of the exile, the end of the Golas, and we will have the ultimate in physical reality, Mashiach Tzidkenu. Okay, so I wish everybody a beautiful day, and we will continue with some other.